Hi, welcome to my video on the horizontal translations on a parabola. Horizontal translation is denoted by HT, and the mapping rule for a horizontal translation is X comma Y, and when we're horizontal we will move to the right or to the left, so it's X plus or minus H and Y. So horizontal translation is moving left and right. Plus is going to the right, minus is going to the left. So let's look at the basic equation of a parabola, which is y equals x squared. And again, the x coordinates are 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. So when you put a 2 in, 2 squared is 4. Put a 1 here, and you get 1 squared is 1. Put a 0, you get a 0. Put a 1, a negative 1, and you square it. So it's like negative 1 being squared, so it's a 1. Then you do negative 2, and you squared, and you get a 4. So the vertex, this vertex is 0, 0. 1 will give you a 1 on the y. A 2 on the x is 4 on the y. And a negative 1 gives you 1y. Negative 1x gives you 1y. Negative 2x gives you 4y. Negative 2, 4. And notice we have a parabola. And a parabola is like a cup. It goes upward. Notice this is positive, so it's going up. The vertex is 0, 0. The vertex is the turning point on the parabola. Notice that this side of the parabola has a positive slope, goes up to the right, and this side of the parabola has a negative slope. It goes up to the left. So let's look at y equals x minus 1 all squared. Well, we can take values of a 2, a 1, a 0, a negative 1, a negative 2. So let's put a 2 in. So 2 minus 1 squared is 1 squared, which is 1. And 1 minus 1 squared is 0 squared, which is 0. And now we'll sub in 0 minus 1 squared, and negative 1 squared is 1. And a negative 1, I'm going to go in, we get a negative 2, and squared gives me a 4. And put a negative 2 in. Negative 2 minus 1. Negative 2, subtract 1, is negative 3 squared is a 9. And as you can see, you have to, when you sub into 2, you have to work the inside of the bracket first, PEMDAS, and then we square after. So we have a 2 giving us a 1, a 2 gives us a 1, a 1 gives us a 0, a 0 gives a 1, a negative 1 gives us a 4, and a negative 2 gives us a 9, which is way up here. Okay, so notice now that we have the vertex is now right here. So if I drew this one, so notice if I go 1 to the left, I get a 1. If I go 1 to the right, I get a 1. If I go 2 over to the left, I get a 4. If I went 2 here, I should get a 4. And if I went 3 here, I get a 9. So if I go 3 to the right here from the vertex, I get a 9. And so my parabola is there. And the parabola is there. So what did I notice? I noticed the vertex went from x is 0, x is 1, and y is 0. So that point right there is 1, 0. So the vertex is 1, comma 0. So that means that it moved 1 to the right. So the horizontal shift is 1 right. that means the h is a 1. So the mapping rule is x plus 1 comma y. So, but you notice if the vertex move 1 right, but this is a negative minus 1 here, what happens? It takes, when x is 1, 1 minus 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, and 0 squared gives you y 0. So when we put a 1, when we put the opposite of this sign here, the opposite of this number in here, we get a 0. That makes the y 0. So let's see what happens when we do the other ones. Let's do x minus 2. And this time let's use some, because we're going to use some more values of x. Let's put a 3 in. 3 minus 2 squared is 1 squared, which is 1. We're going to put a 2 in. 2 minus 2 gives me a 0, so 0 squared is 0. Now I'm going to put a 1 in. 1 minus 2 is negative 1 squared is 1. I'm going to put a 0 in. 0 minus 2 gives me negative 2 squared is a 4. And a negative 1 minus 2. Remember, I'm putting the value of x in here. I'm working it out, and I'm showing you right here. So that's negative 3 squared. That's a 9. And it keeps getting higher and higher. So let's plot. 3 gives me a 1. X is 3, y is 1. X is 2, y is 0. X is 2, y is 0. X is 1, y is 1. X is 0, y is 4. X is negative 1, y is 9. X is negative 1, y is 9. So notice we have 2 of these values here. So the parabola is going like this. So what happens? When we move 1 unit right and left, we get a 1. When we move 2 units right and left, we get a 4. So 2 units, we get a 4. 3 units, we're going to pick up the 9. So because the parabola is symmetrical, so here's the parabola. And notice, again, 1 unit right and left, we pick up the same y value of 1. 2 units right and left off the vertex, 2 units, we pick up the 4. 2 units left, we pick up the 4. 3 units, we pick up the 9. So the vertex is 2, 0. So that means it moved 2 units. So that's the opposite again, because 2 minus 2 is 0, and 0 squared. So y is 0 when x is 2. So that means it moved 2 units right. So 2 right is the horizontal translation, and that's a plus 2. So the mapping rule is x plus 2 comma y. And again, notice you're seeing that it's opposite. It's moving to the opposite of what we have here as in the brackets. So what about y in terms of bracket x plus 1 squared? Instead of a minus 1, we have a plus 1. Let's try a 2, a 1, a 0, a negative 1, negative 2 again. So this time we have a 2, so it's 2 plus 1 squared is 3 squared is 9. And we have x is 1, so 1 plus 1 squared is 2 squared, which is 4. We have a 0 plus 1 squared, which is 1 squared, which is 1. We have a negative 1 plus 1 squared is 0 squared, gives me a 0. And we have a negative 2 plus 1 gives me a negative 1 squared, which is 1. And so we plot this. A 2 gives me a 9. So x is 2, y is 9, 4. So we'll take 9 to be up right here. Could go higher. 1, x is 1, y is 4, which is right here. X is 0, y is 1. X is 0, y is 1. and x is negative 1, y is 0. X is negative 1, y is 0. X is negative 2, y is 1. X is negative 2, y is 1. And you can see again that these two values are the same, 1 and 1. So the parabola on the right side is right here, and the parabola on the left side is right there. And what you notice is that the vertex is x is negative 1, y is 0. And notice the negative 1 is the opposite of the 1. Because when you put a negative 1 in the place of x, you get negative 1 plus 1 is 0, 0 squared is 0. So when x is negative 1, y is 0. And so that means it's moved it's moved 1 left. So that means the h is a negative 1. That means your mapping rule is x minus 1, comma y. So again, x minus 1 is going 1 left, which is opposite to this. So in this bracket, and most times in anything in math that's inside a bracket is going to be the opposite of it. And we have the equation y equals bracket x plus 2 all squared. So let's use some different numbers now. So let's play it a little bit different. We need, what do we put in this bracket to make this bracket 0? We need a negative 2. So let's put a negative 2 in the middle this time. So let's go with a 0, negative 1, negative 3, negative 4. Let's see if we can pick out the vertex in the middle. So we put in a negative 2 plus 2. We get a 0 squared, which gives me a 0. If we put in a negative 1 and add 2, negative 1 is going in. So that gives us 1 squared, which is 1. And we're going to put a 0 in the place of x. So that gives us 2 squared, which gives us 4. Now I'm going to put a negative 3 in the place of x. So that gives me a negative 1 squared is 1. And when I put a negative 4 in the place of x, that gives me negative 2 squared, which is 4. And notice, if we go 1 unit on either side of negative 2, we get a 1. We go 2 units on either side, we get a 4. And that's the same as here. As you can see, right here, this is the vertex right here. And this is the vertex. So the vertex, if we plot this, and you'll see that too, 0 gives me a 4. Negative 1 gives me a 1. Negative 2 gives me a 0. Negative 3 gives me a 1. And a negative 4 gives me a 4. So you can see there's the parabola. And also notice that this is a plus out here, so the parabola is going up. This is a plus here, so the parabola is going up. So all the parabolas that I'm working on in this video are opening up because of the plus in the front of the bracket. And so the vertex is a negative 2, 0. And notice that it's moving to the left, so it's 2 left. So that's a minus 2. So the mapping rule is x minus 2, comma y. And again, the mapping rule is x minus 2. The mapping rule tells me what's happening is moving. X minus 2 is taking 2 away, so it's moving left. So this parabola is moving left. So and the vertex is negative 2, 0, which is the vertex is the point that the curve is changing. The slope on this side is a plus because it's going up to the right. The slope of the curve on this side is negative because it's going up to the left. So no positive slope, negative slope. As if you were to draw a line like this, that line would be positive slope. So this curve right here, which is not a line, is sloping, slanting like that, is negative, or sorry, positive on this side, negative on this side. Let's complete the table here. If we have an HT of right, 4 right, so that's a plus 4. So the equation, in the equation, we would have an x minus 4, opposite. And the vertex is right 4, so the vertex is 4, 0. Because it's moving 4 right, 4, 0. And we 6 left is a minus 6. So the equation is x plus 6. Notice, left is a minus h, but the equation has the opposite. The equation has the opposite of this horizontal translation. And that's true when it's in the bracket. And the vertex is 6 left, so it's a minus 6, comma 0. Right 7 is a plus 7, and the equation inside the bracket is the opposite. And the vertex is 7, comma 0. Left 3 is a minus 3, and the equation has the opposite. And so it's a negative 3, 0. Notice the equation has an opposite because think of this one right here. Y equals x minus h squared. So if the horizontal translation is negative 3, notice what happens. It becomes x plus 3. That's why it's changing the sign. Because the negative of a negative makes it positive. So if the horizontal translation is negative, then the equation will have a plus. If the horizontal translation is positive, like a plus 4, the equation will have a minus 4. So just be careful. Let's complete the table. We have an equation. What's the horizontal translation? The horizontal translation, this is takes a negative 9, so it's 9 left because it's the opposite. Negative 9. The vertex is negative 9, 0. It takes a negative 9 to make this bracket in here a 0. So negative 9 makes y 0. X minus 5, so it's 5 right. So it's a plus 5, and the vertex is 5, comma 0. That's a plus 10, but it's gone 10 left, which is a minus 10. Vertex is negative 10, 0. And this is x minus 8, so that's 8 right. That's a plus 8, so the vertex is 8, comma 0. Again, it takes an 8. The 8 minus 8 is 0. 8 units to the right will give you the vertex of 8, comma 0. And more tables. Complete the table. The vertex is 6, comma 0, so the HT is 6 right. And the H is 6, but the equation is x minus 6. The equation is, what's inside the equation is the opposite to the vertex, the HT and the H. And negative 8 is 8 left, which is a minus 8, but the equation has the opposite of a plus 8. 2 is 2 right, 2, 0, and there's a plus 2, and the equation has the opposite. And a minus 11 is 11 left, which is a minus 11. The equation has the opposite. And notice the vertex here is 3, comma 0, so that means it's gone 3 right, which means it's a plus 3, and the equation has the opposite. And that's doing a horizontal translation. Horizontal translation moves it left and right, and what's inside of the equation is the opposite to the translation. If you like my video, click the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, videos, and the content. as the content in my YouTube channel, Tom Math Fully Explained. Thank you very much for viewing my video. Bye-bye.